The chamber was massive, built to hold representatives from 862 different species. Ambassador Jiwan Park stood at the center platform, her hands clasped behind her back as she waited for the vote that would decide Earth's future. The lights above cast strange shadows across the assembled delegates, creatures of every shape and size imaginable. Some had wings, others had scales, and a few existed as clouds of gas contained in specialized suits. Jiwan had prepared for this moment for 3 years. Every word of her speech had been chosen carefully. Every fact had been checked a dozen times. Earth wanted full membership in the Galactic Council, and she had presented the strongest case possible. Humanity had followed every rule, completed every requirement, and proven themselves worthy 100 times over. The avian Chancellor Vexus raised one wing arm for silence. His feathers shimmered blue and gold under the chamber lights. The council will now hear final arguments before the vote, he announced, his voice translated instantly into thousands of languages through neural implants. Jiwan stepped forward. Honored delegates, Earth has waited 50 years for this moment. We have observed your laws without exception. When the Outer Rim suffered the Crimson Plague, human doctors volunteered by the thousands. We lost 400 medical professionals saving lives across your worlds. When the trade station at Kelmer 5 faced collapse, human engineers worked for 6 months to repair systems our people had never seen before. We ask only for what we have earned through service and dedication. She paused, looking around the chamber. Some faces showed sympathy. Others showed nothing at all. We understand we are young compared to most species here. But youth brings energy, new ideas, and a fresh perspective. Earth offers all of this freely. We ask only to be recognized as equals, to trade fairly, and to contribute to the galaxy's future. The chamber remained quiet as Jiwan returned to her position. Beside her stood Admiral Haijin Choi, Earth's military attaché, her uniform crisp and perfect. Haijin's face showed no emotion, but Jiwan knew her friend well enough to see the tension in her shoulders. Counselor Thren rose next, his reptilian body uncoiling to its full height of nearly 3 meters. His scales were deep green, and his eyes were cold as he surveyed the chamber. "The human speaks well," he began, his forked tongue flickering. "But words are easy. Let us examine facts instead." He gestured, and holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber. Images of Earth's history played for all to see. This species has existed in space for barely a century. Before that, they slaughtered each other in conflicts they call world wars. Millions died. They developed weapons capable of destroying their own planet. They have fought constantly, evolved through violence, and conquered every other species on their homeworld. The images shifted to show human military vessels. They expand aggressively. In just 100 years, they have spread to every planet and moon in their solar system. They build weapons constantly. They question authority. They resist integration into established systems. Thren's eyes fixed on Jiwan. They are dangerous, and admitting them would be a mistake we cannot undo. Other council members began speaking. A crystalline being from the Shallan Collective expressed concern about human reproduction rates. They breed far too quickly. One human lifetime sees 3 generations. They will outnumber us in centuries, not millennia. A floating jellyfish-like creature added its voice. Humans do not respect hierarchies. They believe every individual has equal worth. This philosophy threatens the natural order that has maintained galactic peace for 10,000 years. More voices joined. Humans were too curious, too adaptable, too willing to question, too independent, too creative, too unpredictable. The list of concerns grew longer with each speaker. Jiwan listened to it all, her expression carefully neutral. She had expected opposition, but the unanimity of it shocked her. These were species Earth had helped, had saved, had befriended. Yet when it came time to vote, fear won over gratitude. Chancellor Vexus finally called for order. The arguments have been heard. The Council will now vote on Earth's petition for full membership and trade rights. He paused, his bird-like head tilting. Those in favor signify now. 12 lights appeared on the massive display board. 12 species out of 862 voted yes. Jiwan felt something cold settle in her stomach. Those opposed signify now. The board exploded with red lights. 847 votes against. The remaining 3 species abstained, unwilling to support Earth, but also unwilling to condemn them directly. Vexus spoke with what might have been regret. The Council has decided. Earth's petition is denied. Furthermore, due to concerns raised about human expansion, all human colonies outside the Sol system must be abandoned within 10 standard cycles. All trade agreements are hereby void. Humanity is restricted to their home system until such time as the Council deems otherwise. The words hit like a physical blow. It was worse than denial. It was exile. Punishment for the crime of asking to be treated as equals. Jiwan stood slowly. Around her, some delegates looked away, unable to meet her eyes. Others stared with satisfaction. Thren's expression was smug victory. Haijin's hand moved toward her sidearm before Jiwan touched her wrist gently, stopping her. "May I speak, Chancellor?" Jiwan asked, her voice perfectly calm. Vexus nodded, perhaps expecting an appeal or plea for reconsideration. Jiwan looked around the chamber one final time, memorizing every face, every species that had voted against her world. The human delegation respects the Council's decision. We will comply with all requirements and timelines. Our colonies will be evacuated. Our ships will return to Sol. We will not resist or protest. She paused, and something in her smile made several nearby delegates shift uncomfortably. But I would like the Council to remember something. The chamber was silent, waiting. Humanity got where we are today by being told no. Every major achievement in our history came after someone said we could not do something. They said we could not fly, so we built aircraft. They said we could not leave our planet, so we built rockets. They said we could not survive in space, so we built colonies on lifeless worlds and made them bloom. Her voice remained soft, but it carried to every corner of the massive chamber. You have just told humanity that we are not good enough, not worthy, not acceptable. You have given us the most powerful motivation our species has ever known. She turned and walked toward the exit, Haijin following close behind. At the doorway, Jiwan stopped and looked back one last time. Thank you, counselors. You have just made humanity more dangerous than any weapon we have ever built. I wonder if you will realize that before it is too late. The doors closed behind them, leaving the chamber in uncomfortable silence. Chancellor Vexus felt a chill run through his feathers, a feeling he could not quite name. It would be 3 years before he understood. It was feared President Junho Kim sat in the Situation Room deep beneath Seoul, surrounded by advisors who all wanted to tell him what to do. The Council's decree had arrived 3 hours ago, and Earth's government had been in emergency session ever since. The holographic display showed all 23 human colonies scattered across nearby star systems, each one now condemned to abandonment. Admiral Taeyeon Kwan slammed his fist on the table. This is insane. We have 6 million people living off-world. Families, communities, entire cities we built from nothing. And they want us to just walk away? His face was red with anger. We should fight. Our ships may be fewer, but our technology is advancing faster than theirs. In a direct conflict, we could lose millions of lives, interrupted Dr. Nari Song, her voice sharp. The scientist looked exhausted, her eyes red from lack of sleep. The Council has 800 member species. Even if we won every battle, the sheer numbers would crush us eventually. War is not the answer. Then what is? Demanded General Park, the defense minister. We bow our heads and accept exile? Let them trap us in one star system, while they control the galaxy? Junho raised his hand for silence. All eyes turned to him. At 60 years old, he had led Earth's unified government for a decade. He had guided humanity through first contact, through the difficult early years of galactic politics, and through countless diplomatic challenges. Now he faced the greatest crisis of his career. We do exactly what they asked, Junho said quietly. We withdraw. Completely. Every colony, every outpost, every human presence outside Sol System comes home. The room erupted in protest, but Junho continued speaking. We comply perfectly with every letter of their decree. We show the galaxy that humans respect the law, even when that law is unjust. He stood, walking to the holographic display. But while we comply, we prepare. We build. We become so strong that they can never do this to us again. Admiral Taeyan leaned forward, understanding dawning on his face. A strategic withdrawal. Exactly, Junho confirmed. We bring everyone home, but we do not disarm. Every ship that evacuates a colony gets military upgrades. Every piece of equipment we cannot transport gets hidden for future recovery. We smile, we cooperate, and we get ready. Dr. Nari nodded slowly. The projects we shelved because they were too experimental, too dangerous, too unpredictable ... Green light all of them, Junho ordered. The Council wanted us contained because we advanced too quickly and questioned too much. Let us show them what humans can really do when properly motivated. On Haven 7, the furthest human colony, Yuna Lee watched the ships descend from orbit. She was 16 years old and had lived her entire life on this world. Her family had arrived when she was 2, part of the first wave of colonists. They had worked for years to build their farm, to make the soil productive, to create a home in what had been empty wilderness. Now soldiers in Earth Defense Force uniforms were going door to door, explaining the evacuation procedures. Each family could bring personal belongings, but everything else stayed behind. The farms, the houses, the schools, the hospitals, all of it abandoned, because aliens 800 light years away had voted against them. Yuna's father put his hand on her shoulder as they watched their neighbors, boarding transport ships. I know this is hard, he said softly. This is your home. Why are we letting them do this? Yuna asked, tears running down her face. Why don't we fight? Her father was quiet for a long moment. Because fighting now would mean dying now. Your mother and I did not raise you on this frontier just to see you killed in a war we cannot win. He squeezed her shoulder. But remember this feeling, Yuna. Remember what they took from us. Because someday we will make sure no one can ever do this to humanity again. The evacuation took 8 cycles instead of the required 10. Earth's efficiency surprised the Council observers who monitored the process. Every colony was emptied in an orderly fashion. Humans packed up their belongings, dismantled what they could transport, and departed quietly. There were no protests, no resistance, no angry broadcasts. Just calm, professional compliance. What the observers did not see were the surveillance satellites left in orbit around every abandoned world, disguised as debris. They did not notice the automated defense platforms hidden in asteroid fields and on distant moons. They did not detect the quantum communication, relays that would allow instant contact across vast distances, without using Council-monitored networks. Admiral Taeyan personally oversaw the military aspects of the withdrawal. Every civilian transport that left a colony was actually a military vessel with weapon systems in hidden compartments. Every cargo ship carrying equipment home had armor plating and shield generators built into its structure. By the time the evacuation finished, Earth had the largest armed fleet in its history, and the Council thought humanity was retreating in defeat. On Mars, Dr. Nari gathered her research team in a secure facility. Soldiers guarded every entrance, and the entire complex was shielded against surveillance. The President has authorized unlimited resources for our projects, she explained to the assembled scientists. Every experiment we proposed and were denied, every theory we could not test, every weapon system deemed too dangerous, all of it is now approved. A young physicist named Dong-Yun Bei raised his hand. Even the Genesis Protocol? Nari smiled. Especially the Genesis Protocol. If it works, we can terraform a lifeless planet in months instead of centuries. Imagine what that means for human expansion. The Council will never allow us to expand, another scientist objected. The Council, Nari said coldly, made their decision. We will make ours. Now get to work. We have a civilization to build, and we are going to build it so strong that no vote will ever threaten us again. 6 months after the last human colony was evacuated, President Junho stood before the unified Earth government to deliver a progress report. The withdrawal is complete, he announced. Every human being outside Sol system has returned home safely. We have complied with every requirement of the Council's decree. He paused, his expression hardening. But compliance does not mean surrender. In the past 6 months, we have accelerated our technological development beyond even our own projections. Our industrial capacity has tripled. Our military strength has quadrupled. And we are just beginning. Junho looked around the chamber at the representatives from every nation on Earth. The Council thought they were containing a threat. Instead, they have created one. They wanted us isolated, so we will use that isolation to become unstoppable. When we emerge from Sol System again, it will be on our terms, in our time, and with our rules. The galaxy voted against Earth. Now let us show them what a mistake they made. The chamber erupted in applause, but Junho remained focused. He knew the real work was just beginning. Humanity had been pushed into a corner, and there was nothing more dangerous than desperate humans with a common purpose in orbit around Earth. Admiral Taeyun watched construction crews working on new vessels. Shipyards that had been empty a year ago now hummed with activity. Hundreds of ships were being built simultaneously, using techniques and materials the Council had never seen. Each one was faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything humanity had built before. He thought about Counselor Thren's words, about humans being too violent and too aggressive. The reptilian alien had no idea how right he was. Humans had evolved through struggle, and struggle made them stronger. The Council had just given humanity the greatest struggle in its history. Admiral Taeyun smiled as he watched another ship take shape. You wanted us contained, he whispered to the stars. Now you will learn what happens when you corner an animal with nowhere left to run. We are coming back. And when we do, you will wish you had welcomed us when you had the chance. Trade Master Kellex had been doing business with humans for 15 years, and he had grown wealthy from it. His species, the Torvins, were natural merchants who prided themselves on finding profit in every transaction. But 6 months after the Council vote, Kellex found himself facing a problem no amount of business skill could solve. The humans had vanished, not literally. Of course. Earth still existed, and if you pointed a telescope at Sol System, you would see activity around their planets. But they had cut off all contact with the rest of the galaxy. No trade ships left their system. No diplomatic messages were sent. No human responded to any communication attempts. It was costing Kellex a fortune. What do you mean you cannot get the medical supplies? His client demanded, all 4 of his arms gesturing angrily. I have paid in advance. The contract is signed. Kellex spread his hands apologetically. The humans provided 60% of the galaxy's supply of Regan-7. There is no other source. I have tried every alternative, but none matched the quality or the price. He had tried to find substitutes, but everything else was either inferior or cost 3 times as much. It was the same story across the galaxy. Computer components that humans manufactured were suddenly unavailable. Rare minerals that human colonies had mined were no longer on the market. Terraforming technology that Earth companies had pioneered was gone. The economic disruption rippled through Council space like waves from a dropped stone. Chancellor Vexus noticed the problems but had more immediate concerns. The human silence worried him in ways he could not quite explain. He had expected protests, appeals for reconsideration, or at least some communication. Instead, there was nothing. It felt wrong. "Send a diplomatic probe to Sol System," he ordered. "Official Council business. Request a status update on their compliance with our decree." The probe made the journey in 3 weeks. It approached Earth's outer defenses carefully, broadcasting its diplomatic credentials continuously. Human automated systems acknowledged the probe, scanned it thoroughly, and allowed it to proceed to Earth orbit. 20 minutes later, the probe was on its way back with a message. Chancellor Vexus read it in his private chambers, and the words made his feathers stand on end. To the Galactic Council, humanity has complied fully with all requirements of your decree. All colonies outside Sol System have been evacuated. All trade has ceased. We have no further contact necessary with Council space. Please do not send additional probes. We are busy with internal development. Respectfully, Earth Government. Internal development. What did that mean? Vexus tried to dig deeper, but all his intelligence sources in human space had gone quiet. The Council had observers and spies everywhere, but somehow Earth had found and shut down every single one of them. Councillor Thren dismissed his concerns during the next session. The reptilian was as confident as ever. The humans are contained, Chancellor. They are trapped in one star system with nowhere to expand. Give them a generation, and they will be begging us to reconsider. Isolation will break their spirit. But Commander Minji An was making sure that would never happen. She commanded the stealth reconnaissance ship Silent Echo, and her mission was simple: map every Council military installation, trade route, and strategic resource in the galaxy. The Silent Echo was humanity's most advanced ship, using technology that the Council did not even know existed. It could slip through space undetected, record everything it saw, and disappear before anyone knew it was there. Minji had been in Council space for 4 months, as she had cataloged hundreds of targets. Jump coordinates locked, her navigation officer reported. Next target is the Velen shipyards. Minji nodded. Execute jump. Silent running protocols. I want full scans of their construction capabilities and defensive positions. She looked at the holographic display showing Council territory. They think we are hiding in Sol System, too afraid to come out. They have no idea we are already here, watching everything they do. The Silent Echo was not alone. 30 other stealth ships operated throughout Council space, all part of what Admiral Tayan called the Ghost Fleet. They gathered intelligence that would be invaluable if war ever came. But more importantly, they sent a message to Earth's government. We are not trapped, and we are not helpless. On Venus, Dongyun Bay stood in the observation dome and watched the planet's surface far below. 6 months ago, Venus had been a hellish world of crushing pressure and sulfuric acid rain. Now it was changing. The Genesis protocol was working. Temperature down another 5 degrees, reported one of his assistants. Atmospheric pressure decreased by 10%. Chemical composition shifting exactly as predicted. Dong Yun allowed himself a small smile. The Genesis protocol used a combination of engineered microorganisms, atmospheric processors, and orbital reflectors to transform a planet's environment. What had taken centuries before could now happen in months. Venus would be fully habitable within a year. When this works, Dr. Narration had told him, we can terraform any planet we find. The Council thought they were limiting us to Sol System. Instead, they gave us time to develop technology that will let us colonize hundreds of worlds faster than they can believe possible. The energy readings from Sol System that the Council detected were real. Earth had turned its home system into the largest industrial complex in known space. The asteroid belt was being mined at unprecedented rates. Massive construction platforms orbited every planet. Fusion reactors powered facilities that ran continuously, churning out ships and equipment and weapons. And through it all, humanity remained silent. Another diplomatic message arrived at Council headquarters, this time from a group of frontier species asking for trade, negotiations with Earth. Chancellor Vexus rejected the request immediately. The Council has decreed that humanity remains isolated. Any species that violates this decree will face sanctions. But privately, he wondered how long he could enforce that. The economic pressure was building. Species that had relied on human trade were suffering. Some were starting to ask uncomfortable questions about why the Council had voted the way it did. Commander Minji completed another successful reconnaissance mission and sent her encrypted report back to Earth through the quantum communication network. Council military forces are spread thin, she wrote. Their technology has not advanced significantly in decades. They rely on numbers and established positions rather than innovation. Recommendation: they are vulnerable to rapid coordinated strikes if conflict becomes necessary. Admiral Taeyan read the report with grim satisfaction. War was not the goal, but if it came, humanity would be ready. More than ready. They would be overwhelming. Trade Master Kellex made one final attempt to contact his human business partners. He used emergency frequencies, old codes, even tried sending a message through the quantum network. Nothing worked. The humans were not ignoring him because they were angry. They were ignoring him because they simply did not care anymore. The galaxy had voted to exile Earth. Now Earth had exiled the galaxy right back. In the council chambers, Chancellor Vexus reviewed reports of increased energy signatures from Sol System. The humans were building something, developing something, preparing something. Every instinct he had screamed that something was wrong, that the silence was not surrender, but preparation. What are they doing? He wondered aloud. His assistant, a young avian, offered a thought. Perhaps they are simply following our decree, Chancellor. Internal development, as they said. Vexus wanted to believe that, but he had seen the look in Ambassador Jiwan's eyes when she left the chamber. That had not been the look of someone accepting defeat. That had been the look of someone making a promise. He sent another probe to Sol System. This one returned with an identical message, word for word the same as before. No new information, no explanation, just polite acknowledgement and a request to be left alone. The silence was worse than any threat. Captain Yoongi Nam was bored. Scouting missions in unclaimed space were usually uneventful, just empty systems and lifeless rocks. He had been doing this job for 15 years, and the most exciting thing he had ever found was a moon with interesting mineral deposits. So when his sensors detected unusual energy signatures in the Kilo system, he almost ignored it. Almost. Run full spectrum analysis, he ordered his ship's computer. What am I looking at? The computer processed the data for several seconds. Energy signature consistent with industrial activity. Multiple fusion reactors. Orbital construction platforms. Atmosphere processors. A pause. Captain, This planet was listed as uninhabitable in our last survey 18 months ago. Yoongi felt his blood run cold. Show me visual. The main screen displayed a world that should have been a desert wasteland. Instead, he saw cities. Massive, gleaming cities with millions of lights. Ships moving in organized traffic patterns. Orbital stations that rivaled anything in Council space. And on the largest continent, a settlement that sprawled for hundreds of kilometers. Get me closer, Yoongi ordered. I need to know who built this. As his ship approached, defense satellites activated and locked weapons on his position. A communication channel opened, and a human face appeared on the screen. Yoongi had seen humans before, during their time in Council space. But this one looked different, somehow confident, unbothered, almost amused. This is Governor Soin Han of New Seoul Colony, the human said. You are entering human territory. State your business or leave immediately. Yoongi's mind raced. Human territory? But humans were restricted to Sol System. This is Captain Yoongi Nam of the Galactic Council Scout Service. Your presence here violates Council decree. Humanity is forbidden from colonizing outside their home system. Governor Soin smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Check your star charts, Captain. This system is in unclaimed space, over 200 light years from any Council border. Your decree banned us from Council space. This is not Council space. We are violating nothing. But how? Yoongi stammered. This planet was uninhabitable. We surveyed it ourselves. It was uninhabitable, Soin agreed. 11 months ago, we began terraforming operations. Now it supports 2 million colonists, with more arriving every week. Would you like a tour? We are quite proud of what we have accomplished. Yoongi reported the discovery immediately. Within hours, Council ships were racing to the Kilo system to verify his findings. What they found shocked them even more than Yoongi's initial report. New Seoul was just one of 17 human colonies they discovered in unclaimed space. 17 thriving worlds, each one transformed from lifeless rock to habitable paradise in less than a year. Each one housing hundreds of thousands or millions of humans. Each one defended by military installations that made Council observers nervous. The Council chamber erupted into chaos when the reports were presented. Chancellor Vexus tried to maintain order, but delegates were shouting over each other. Some demanded immediate military action. Others called for economic sanctions. A few wondered aloud how they had missed such massive expansion. They were silent for 18 months. One delegate protested. We thought they were contained. They were silent, another replied, but they were not idle. While we congratulated ourselves on containing them, they built an empire. Councillor Thren stood, his scales flushed dark with anger. This is unacceptable. They were supposed to wither in isolation. They were supposed to learn their place. His voice rose. Instead, they have expanded beyond anything we thought possible. How did they do this? A Council scientist provided the answer. Their terraforming technology surpasses anything we have by decades. Their construction speed suggests industrial capacity 10 times what we estimated. Their resource extraction and processing efficiency is beyond our current capabilities. In simple terms, counselors, they advanced more in 18 months than most. Species do in a century. Admiral Taeyan personally led the escort for the Council. Inspection team that visited New Seoul. He stood on the bridge of the battleship, Indomitable, one of 300 new vessels in the expansion fleet. All built in 18 months. All equipped with technology the Council had never seen. Governor Han has agreed to allow a limited inspection, he told the Council delegates. You will see one city, one industrial zone, and one agricultural area. Any attempt to deviate from the approved route or conduct unauthorized scans will be met with immediate expulsion. Are we clear? The lead delegate, a crystalline Shaolin, nodded stiffly. They had no choice but to agree. The alternative was being denied access entirely. New Seoul was impressive even by council standards. The city center featured buildings that soared a kilometer high, constructed from materials that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Parks filled with earth plants covered hundreds of hectares. Transportation systems moved millions of people efficiently. The technology on display was cutting edge, and everything looked new because it was new. How many people live here? The Shaolin delegate asked. Governor Soin walked beside them, playing tour guide. Currently 2.3 million, with infrastructure to support 5 million. We are expanding at a rate of 50,000 new colonists per month. She gestured to a construction site where massive machines were assembling a new residential tower. That building will be completed in 6 weeks. We can build an entire city district in 3 months. The delegate's crystalline structure flickered with what might have been disbelief. This is impossible. No species can expand this quickly. You said we could not terraform a world in under a century, Soin replied calmly. You were wrong about that too. Perhaps you should stop assuming you know what humans can and cannot do. The inspection team returned to council space with troubling news. Humanity was not just surviving in isolation, they were thriving. Their technology had advanced at an incredible pace. Their colonies were well established and growing rapidly. And their military presence, while not hostile, was clearly formidable. Further scouting missions revealed the true scope of human expansion. 40 colonies across unclaimed space, with 60 more in active development. Their population outside Sol System already exceeded 50 million and was growing exponentially. The numbers were staggering. Chancellor Vexus called an emergency session. We must address this situation before it spirals beyond our control. The humans have clearly violated the spirit of our decree. President Junho Kim's response came not through diplomatic channels, but as a public broadcast, transmitted across the entire galaxy. Every species with a receiver could watch as Earth's leader spoke directly to them, bypassing the council entirely. To all civilized species. Junho began. The Galactic Council recently claimed that humanity's expansion violates the spirit of their decree. I would like to address this directly. He stood before a backdrop showing Earth, looking calm and reasonable. 18 months ago, the Council voted to exile humanity from their space. They banned us from maintaining colonies in Council territory. We complied completely. Every colony was evacuated. Every human presence in Council space was removed. Junho's expression hardened. But the galaxy is vast, and the Council does not own all of it. Your decree specified Council space. The worlds we have colonized are in unclaimed territory, regions your species have ignored for millennia because you lacked the technology to make them habitable. We developed that technology. We took lifeless rocks and made them bloom. This is not violation of your decree. This is humanity building our own future in space you do not want and cannot use. He paused, letting the words sink in. You voted to contain us. You failed. You thought isolation would weaken us. You were wrong. We are here. We are growing. And what we do in unclaimed space is not subject to Council authority. If you do not like this, perhaps you should have thought more carefully before you voted. The broadcast ended, but its impact rippled across the galaxy. Public opinion, especially among frontier species, began to shift. Why should the Council control human expansion in space they did not even claim? Why should one species be punished for being too successful? 3 frontier species officially petitioned to leave the Council and join what they called the human sphere. They were tired of Council bureaucracy, high taxes, and restrictive trade policies. Humanity offered them partnership instead of domination, fair trade instead of exploitation, and technology the Council could not match. Chancellor Vexus watched his coalition crumbling and realized the terrible truth. The Council had not contained humanity. They had freed humanity from Council restrictions. And without those restrictions, humans had shown exactly what they were capable of. It was more terrifying than anyone had imagined. 3 years after the vote, the Galactic Council faced a reality they had never imagined. The chamber that once held 862 member species now struggled to maintain 700. Over 150 species had left to join the human sphere, and more were considering it every day. Chancellor Vexus stood before the remaining delegates, his once proud feathers now dull with stress. A council must face facts. Humanity now controls 200 worlds. Their economy is completely self-sufficient. Their military capabilities are unknown, but clearly substantial. And our own coalition is collapsing. The incidents at the border had made everything worse. Council ships that entered human space without permission simply disappeared. No battles, no warnings, no wreckage. Ships would cross the boundary and cease all communication. 3 days later, the ships would reappear at the nearest Council station with the entire crew unconscious and all weapons disabled. A message would be attached: trespassing is not tolerated. Next time, we keep the ship. No one knew how the humans did it. Council scientists could not explain technology that could disable an entire warship in seconds without destroying it. It was beyond anything they understood. Admiral Haijin Choi had demonstrated human military capability personally when a Council cruiser refused to leave human territory. The captain, arrogant and dismissive, had ignored 3 warnings to withdraw. He learned his mistake when every system on his ship shut down simultaneously. Weapons offline. Shields collapsed. Life support at minimum. The ship went completely dark in 4.3 seconds. Haijin's face appeared on every screen aboard the disabled cruiser. You were warned. You ignored the warning. Your crew will be returned safely to the nearest Council station. Your ship will be confiscated and studied. Tell your superiors that next time we will not be so generous. The crew was returned unharmed, exactly as promised. The ship was never seen again. Every Council captain who heard the story suddenly became very careful about approaching human borders. Trade. Master Kellex had given up on his human contacts and was now trading with them as a client instead of a partner. The irony was not lost on him. Before the vote, he had bought from humans at good prices and sold at a profit. Now, humans controlled the supply of dozens of critical goods, and he paid whatever price they demanded. The medical supplies you requested will cost triple what you paid before. A human trade official informed him. Kellex wanted to protest, but knew it was pointless. Why so expensive? Because you voted to exile us, the human replied simply. And because you have no alternative source. Supply and demand, trade master. You taught us well. The economic pressure was crushing Council space. Everything cost more. Innovation had stalled. Species that had relied on human technology now struggled with inferior substitutes. Meanwhile, the human sphere thrived. Their economy grew at unprecedented rates. Their technology advanced continuously, and more species joined them every month. President Junho Kim received an official communication from Chancellor Vexus requesting formal negotiations. The message was carefully worded, diplomatic, and entirely too late. Junho read it and smiled coldly. They want to talk now, he told his advisors. 3 years ago, they voted 847 to 12 against us. Now they want to negotiate. Will you meet with them? Asked his chief diplomat. Oh yes, Junho replied, but not in their chamber, not on their terms. They will come to us. The message Junho sent back shocked the council. Earth is willing to discuss the current situation. Negotiations will take place at New Sol Colony. Chancellor Vexus and senior council leadership will attend in person. No weapons will be permitted within the system. You have 2 weeks to arrive. Some council members protested. We cannot agree to these terms. It is humiliating to go to them. Chancellor Vexus overruled them. We have no choice. The alternative is watching the council dissolve completely. Swallow your pride and prepare for travel. The council delegation arrived at New Sol to find a city that put most of their capital worlds to shame. The orbital stations alone were larger than their biggest space facilities. The defense grid that tracked their every movement was obviously capable of destroying their entire fleet in seconds. And the humans who greeted them were polite, professional, and completely in control. Governor Soyan welcomed them personally. Chancellor Vexus honored delegates. Welcome to New Sol. I hope your journey was comfortable. She gestured to waiting transportation. President Kim is waiting at the negotiation facility. Please follow me. The facility was beautiful, built to showcase human achievement. Gardens filled with plants from a dozen different worlds. Artwork from human colonies across space. Technology displays showing innovations the council could not match. Every detail reminded the delegates that they were not dealing with a species asking for permission anymore. They were dealing with an equal power, possibly a superior one. Ji-won Park stood near the entrance, watching the delegates arrive. 3 years ago, she had stood in their chamber and been rejected. Now she was special envoy to the council, and they were coming to her world, on her terms. Chancellor Vexus recognized her and approached cautiously. Ambassador Park, it is good to see you again. It is special envoy now, Chancellor, Ji-won corrected him gently. And I go by Ji-won. We are all equals here, are we not? The subtle emphasis on equals was not lost on him. President Junho waited in the main conference room. When the council delegation entered, he did not stand. He remained seated at the head of the table, forcing them to approach him. A small gesture, but one that established the power dynamic immediately. Thank you for coming, Junho said. I understand this is difficult for you. Traveling to meet with a species you voted to exile must be uncomfortable. Vexus settled into his seat, his wings tight against his body. President Kim, the council recognizes that circumstances have changed since our original vote. We would like to discuss a new arrangement. Would you? Junho leaned back in his chair. 3 years ago, my people asked to join your council. We had followed every rule, met every requirement, and proven ourselves worthy 100 times over. You voted us down 847 to 12. You stripped us of our colonies. You exiled us to one star system. And now you want a new arrangement? The room was silent. Every council delegate felt the weight of that vote, the enormity of their mistake. Junho continued, his voice never rising, but carrying absolute conviction. You thought we were too dangerous, too violent, too ambitious. You wanted us contained. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We respected your decision. We left your space. We built our own civilization. We developed technology you cannot match. We expanded to 200 worlds while you debated whether we deserved one. And now you sit in our city, in our space, asking for what exactly? Chancellor Vexus chose his words carefully. The council proposes mutual recognition of borders and trade rights. We acknowledge human sovereignty over your claimed territories in exchange for peaceful coexistence. On council terms, I assume? Junho asked. On negotiated terms, Vexus corrected. Ji-won spoke from her position by the wall. Chancellor, with respect, you misunderstand the situation. You are not here to negotiate with us. You are here to accept our terms or reject them. Those are your only options. The council delegates shifted uncomfortably. This was not how they were used to being addressed. President Junho stood and walked to a large holographic display. Let me explain your situation clearly. Over 150 of your member species have left to join us. Another 100 are considering it. Your economy is struggling because you can no longer access human trade goods. Your technology has stagnated while ours advances continuously. And your military cannot challenge ours without catastrophic losses. He turned to face them directly. You do not have the power to contain us anymore. You do not have the authority to limit us. You do not even have the influence to slow us down. What you have is a choice. Work with us, or watch your console become irrelevant while humanity builds the future without you. The terms Junho presented were clear. The Council would recognize human sovereignty over all currently claimed territories. Trade between Council and human sphere would be conducted at human-set rates for the next 50 years. Compensation for the economic damage the exile caused. Any Council species wishing to join the human sphere would be allowed to do so without penalty. And humans would receive permanent seats on the Council if they chose to participate, with veto power over any decision affecting humanity. These terms are unacceptable, Councillor Thren hissed. You are demanding too much. We are demanding what you owe us, Jiwan replied. You exiled us unjustly. You cost us 3 years of development in Council space. You damaged our economy and our people. These terms are generous, considering what you did. Chancellor Vexis knew she was right. The alternative to accepting these terms was watching the Council dissolve completely. We will need time to discuss this with our remaining members. You have 1 week, Juno said flatly. After that, the offer expires and we proceed without you. The galaxy is large enough for both our civilizations, Chancellor. But make no mistake, we will be the ones expanding. We will be the ones innovating. We will be the ones other species look to for leadership. You can join that future or be left behind. The choice is yours. The vote took place 6 days later. The Council chamber, now holding only 700 species, was somber. Chancellor Vexis called for the vote on accepting humanity's terms. 862 votes for, 0 against. Every single remaining species, including Councillor Thren, voted yes. They had learned their lesson. Never underestimate humanity. Never corner them. Never tell them they cannot do something. Because humans will prove you wrong every single time, and they will make you regret ever doubting them. 5 years after the original vote, human space encompassed 500 worlds. The Council remained stable but stagnant, their territory unchanged while humanity expanded continuously. Trade flowed between both civilizations, but everyone knew who held the real power dot in classrooms across the galaxy. Young beings learned about the greatest mistake the Council ever made. Teachers explained how underestimating a species and trying to contain them through isolation only made them stronger. The lesson was simple. Humanity earned their place in the galaxy not by asking permission, but by being too powerful to deny Dot and in the Council chamber, now renamed the Galactic Assembly to reflect humanity's equal status. Ambassador Jiwan Park sat in a seat of honor. She had been rejected in this room 3 years ago. Now she helped write the laws that governed the galaxy. During breaks in session, she sometimes looked at the voting display and remembered that day when 847 lights turned red. She remembered the feeling of rejection, of anger, of determination, and she smiled, because that rejection had been the greatest gift the Council ever gave humanity. It had freed them to become exactly what they were always meant to be, unstoppable.